afternoon. My name is Chris Hall. I'm from the American P&I Club in Hong Kong. This is my first time in the Philippines since before the pandemic, and I'm really excited to be back. It's long overdue. First of all, I'm talking about sleep, so I want to question the audience. How many people like sleeping? Raise your hand. Everybody? All right. How many people occasionally have trouble sleeping? Raise your hand. Right? How many people have no trouble sleeping after lunch at a conference? Raise your hand. All right. Great. So the presentation is called Navigating the Seas of Sleep, Tools for Seafarers. And this is meant to be a very practical presentation. I'm not a seafarer, I'm not a medical doctor, but I do feel I have some credibility on this subject because I'm a middle-aged guy who in the last 5 to 10 years has found it a little bit harder to sleep than I used to. So I've been doing a lot of the tools that we'll be talking about today, and I'm happy to answer questions afterwards about anything. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Yeah. There we go, I'm in control. Sleep is the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body. This comes from Dr. Matt Walker, a noted sleep expert. Why is sleep important? I've said it's the tide that raises all health boats. It is the foundation for our health in all respects. So it's physical health, mental health, as well as our prevention of disease and longevity. So if you want to live a long, healthy life, we need to be sleeping well. I say sleep isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for a healthy body. Of course, sleep is particularly important at sea because safety is particularly important at sea. I've set out a little bit of an algorithm here, which is that lack of sleep leads to fatigue, leads to a problem performing safety critical tasks, leads to human error, leads to shipping casualties, or accidents, or other problems. You could even amend this algorithm to say that it will affect your ability to do little word puzzles. I mean, this morning, if I don't get enough sleep, I have trouble doing little puzzles. So imagine what it's like at sea with safety critical tasks. It also underlies our health, as I said in the last slide. So chronic sleep loss, if you Google this or ask ChatGPT, it will literally undergird or underlie almost every single health problem that you can have. So really, it's foundational. So promoting better sleep should be a priority for the industry because it impacts so much. But it's not easy because seafarers, unlike me and maybe some of us in the room are desk-bound lawyers or underwriter type people or doing other kinds of stationary work. This is shift work, oftentimes at sea, and involves moving around, so you have a jet lag component. So it's dangerous, so it's a lot more challenging. I say safe sailing starts with good sleep. This is a bit of good news, the evolution of sleep perception. You don't have to go back too far, maybe 20 years, before when it was kind of a sign of a good sign that you didn't get much sleep. People in hospitals, nurses, or in the military, or at sea would be bragging about how little sleep they got and they still managed to do their job. This is an outdated notion though, fortunately, and it's being replaced slowly but surely by changing perceptions, which is that macho is out, science and common sense is in. And we can see this in some of the regulatory changes and guidelines in our industry. And I hope that continues. So let's jump into the sleep toolkit. First thing is to create a good sleep-inducing environment. Maintain a cool, dark, and quiet space. Now this seems obvious, but sometimes all of us need to be told obvious things. So when you go home tonight or when you're on the next ship, check how cool it is, check how dark it is, check how quiet it is. You might be surprised that it doesn't tick these 3 boxes. Invest in good quality mattress and pillow. Again, common sense. This may come back to the owners or the operators or the manning agents, the people who have control of this, but it is very important. Place sleep spaces away from loud machinery. Maybe easier said than done in some cases, but to the extent this can be done, or insulation, dampening solutions can be provided, then this should be done. Use helpful sleep accessories. I've been doing this since 1995. I lived in New York City on a busy avenue, and every day at 5, big trucks came rumbling down. So I started using the eye covers and the earplugs. I've been doing it for the last 30 years, and it definitely helps. If you can stand it, it works. And this is scientifically validated, just like pretty much all the tools in this presentation are. So I put at the end, employers play a vital role. Some of this is down to the individual, but much of it, when it comes to seafarers on a ship, comes down to the organization behind those people. Sleep tools. Follow the 3-2-1 sleep rule. 3 hours before bed, ideally no more food. 2 hours before bed, limit exercise and reduce liquid intake. 1 hour before bed, I know this is hard, but we can do it. Switch off electronic devices, right? Really hard. I know from personal experience, and I'm a middle-aged man, so I can see that it would be harder for younger generations, but it's really important. Develop a wind-down routine. Sleep is a process, it's not an off switch. Any of us in the room who have kids or who have little kids knows that you can't just say go to bed and they go to bed. It's a process. We're adults now, but it's still a process. So develop a mind and body relaxation technique at the end. It involves reading, deep breathing, praying, meditation, mindfulness, stretching, listening to calm music. All of these things to kind of segue into a different mode. Consider worry journaling 1 hour before bedtime time. A lot of us can't fall asleep or wake up in the middle of the night and can't fall back to sleep because we're worrying about something, or our to-do list for the next day is on our head. Download that from your head, which is kind of a jumbled mess, onto paper or onto a tablet. This will help. Again, scientifically validated with studies. Become a nose breather. That's a little bit strange, right? This is not just good for sleep, it's good for health generally. I suggest that you Google James Nestor's book, Breath, or any podcast that he's on. Balancing light and temperature throughout the day. These are two important inputs, both to our waking up and to our sleeping. Our ability to fall asleep and stay asleep at night starts when we wake up with light and temperature. So here's some guidelines generally for light. Prior to sleep, avoid bright light. These lights here, not very good for sleeping. Upon waking, get exposure to natural light if you can. It may be difficult if you're working a night shift, but if you can get outside within the first hour, that will set a biological cascade off in your body that will help you sleep later. Temperature. Prior to or when we sleep, a cool environment. Our body needs to cool down. Upon waking, you want to raise your body. You can do that by a little bit of exercise. So also, cold showers in the morning. Cold, it sounds paradoxical, but by a cold shower, we're actually creating more heat in our body because our body wants to compensate. And then conversely at night, a warm shower or warm bath can help us to sleep. So these are two important inputs. Consistent sleep schedules. I know this is a really difficult one for seafarers because of the shift work. I don't think there's any easy solution, but I think it's important to be very aware that this is a big input into how we sleep and how we rest and how we are fatigued or not. So try to have consistent sleep schedules. The science backs the idea of at least 14 days at a time on one schedule. Let's try for that. Role of ship owners and managers. Obviously, it's not the individuals who can decide when and how they operate this way. So this requires a lot of input from the organizations. I've tagged a podcast from Dr. Andrew Huberman on shift work and jet lag, which could be useful for more information. So what's this? And is it good or bad? It's 3 people sitting in a room and they are drinking coffee or tea. And it's both good and bad. The timing and the dose make the elixir or the poison. So caffeine benefits, useful tool to wake up. I think we all know that. But if you take it late in the day, or you take too much late in the day, it can disrupt your sleep, obviously. Also timing, the point number 2, to avoid a caffeine crash later in the day, consider delaying your first caffeine intake by 90 to 120 minutes. I've been doing this for a year, and I can tell you, it absolutely works. I used to want to take naps, or I'd get tired, and I'd want to take a nap. With this, I kind of plow through the afternoon. Try it for yourself. Again, backed by science and biology, but just try it, see what happens. Again, the caution, 5 to 7 hours is the time that caffeine stays in our body, so try to bear that in mind with your sleep time. Power of naps, kind of like caffeine, it's a double-edged sword. Short naps, for some people, can restore alertness, enhance performance. But be careful, if you nap too long, you can kind of fall into a bit of a slump, sleep inertia. And napping too late in the day is kind of like eating snacks right before dinner. It will inhibit your ability to fall asleep properly later at night, or whatever your night may be if you're on a shift. I put down at the bottom an alternative, non-sleep deep rest. I've added this recently, NSDR, also called Yoga Nidra. This is a way to not sleep, but kind of get a rejuvenated mental outlook. And I can tell you it works. It also works if you wake up in the middle of the night at 3 in the morning, you go to the bathroom and you come back and then you start thinking. If you do this, it's a script. You can find a bunch of scripts on YouTube or online and just listen to it. It tends to work to put you back to sleep. Exercise, another double-edged sword, right? There's a theme here. There's balance in life, balance in all things, right? Regular exercise promotes healthier sleep patterns. But if you do it too soon before bed, it can disrupt your ability to sleep. So again, balance. Supplements, all right? First, we want to tackle the lifestyle things, all that I just discussed. But if you're still struggling, you can engage or look into these supplements. So Dr. Andrew Huberman has a so-called sleep stack. And again, I've been using this for about the last year, and I can say that it works for me personally. The first 3 are ones that you could take every day. Apparently they have a quite high safety limit. Of course, for all of these things, depending on your own personal condition, you should check with a health professional. But I can vouch for this sleep stack as useful. But again, tailor it to yourself. Cautionary notes. We've all heard about melatonin supplements. We've all heard about alcohol and sleep medications as things that can help us to sleep. I would say be careful with all of these things from my own personal experience. Again, consult with a doctor if you need to. Melatonin is an exogenous hormone. Our body creates it naturally. So when you start putting hormones in your body that may be 100 times what your body's creating naturally, it can kind of disrupt things or have a bad interaction with other hormones like testosterone, estrogen, insulin. These are things, so you want to be careful, I think, with melatonin. Alcohol, okay, it might get you to sleep along with sleep medication, but these are things that may disrupt your sleep architecture over time. So be careful with both of those things. Finally, I say embrace the sleep challenge, and I'm talking to myself as much as you and as much as anybody here, because this is, in my mind, kind of a low-hanging fruit in a way, right? You don't need to go and have a surgery to work on this. You can slowly chip away at this with different tools, with different approaches over time. So 3, 6, 9 months down the road, you may find yourself much better. I would suggest getting something like this to monitor your sleep, right? What we measure is good, because then we can adjust and account for things. So when I wake up in the morning, I check my REM, my deep sleep, my light sleep, my awake time, and then I see, well, what did I do the day before? What did I eat? How did I nap? What did I do? This is a way to kind of improve your sleep quality over time. So I say, what's one thing you will try to improve your sleep? Think about this today and maybe employ one of these things later tonight. For further resources, I've tagged some of my favorite resources. There's just a lot of stuff. We live in I know we're talking about the ills of social media, but it is another double-edged sword. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and bad stuff, but there's a lot of good stuff. We can go out there, we can educate, we can learn, we can communicate with people and improve ourselves in all kinds of ways, including sleep. Thank you.